Premeditated homicide is the most serious charge tried non-criminal courts. We put a long and complex case, ladies and gentlemen. It is now your duty to sit down and try to separate the facts from the fancies. One man has said, the life of another is a stake. If there is a reasonable doubt as to the guilt of the accused, then you must declare not guilty. If, however, there is no reasonable doubt, he must be declared guilty. Whichever way you decide, the verdict must be unanimous. You are faced with grave responsibility. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
He doesn't stand a chance.
You know something? I know lots of things.
I'm an advertiser.
You know, it's hot.
I never would have known that if you hadn't told me, would you?
I suppose not. I kind of forgot.
All I've done all day is sweat.
I bet you weren't sweating like that kid who was tried.
You'd think that at least air conditioning place, I won't drop dead in court.
A taxi that I am.
We should go fast anyways. I guess it's hot.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, everyone's here. If you need to leave, I'm right outside. There's not.
Did she just lock that door?
Yes, she did.
What do they think we are, crooks?
They locked us up for a little while.
And they locked that kid up forever, and that's fine by me.
I never really did that.
Sure they locked the door. What'd you think?
Just really hurting, I guess.
Shall we all admit right now that it's hot and humid and our tempers are short?
It's been a pretty hard week.
I feel just fine.
I wonder what's been going on down at the office. You know how it is in advertising. 6 days my job can be gone, and the whole company too. They aren't going to them. Well, figure this is our duty. I didn't object to doing my duty. I just mentioned I might not have a job when I get back.
That's correct. She's rich. Look at the suit.
The dress?
Sorry.
Is it custom tailored?
Yes, it is.
I have an uncle who's a tailor.
How does he do?
Not too well. You know, a friend of his, that's a friend of my uncle, the tailor. Well, he wanted to be on this jury in my place.
And you didn't let him take it? I would have done anything to miss this.
And get caught or something? You know what kind of fines to take or anything like that? Anyways, this friend of my uncle was in a jury once, about 10 years ago. A case just about like this one. So, what happened? They let him off. Reasonable doubt. And you know, about 8 years later, they found out he'd actually gone and done it anyways. A guilty man. A murderer was turned loose in the streets.
Did they get it?
They couldn't.
Why not?
A man cannot be held in double jeopardy. Unless it's a hung jury, a man cannot be tried twice for the same crime.
That isn't going to happen here.
6 days. They should have finished it in 2. Talk, talk, talk. Did you ever hear so much talk about nothing?
Well, I guess they're tired.
Everybody gets a fair trial. That's the system. Suppose you can't say anything against it.
How do you like that business about that? You ever hear a funnier story?
Well, look, you're gonna expect something like that. You know what you're dealing with.
He bought a switch knife that night.
And then he lost it.
A hole in his pocket.
A hole in his father.
An awful way to kill your father. A knife to the chest.
Look at the kind of people they are, you know.
What's the matter? You got a cold?
A little. It's kind of hot where their pulse can kill you.
I had one last year. I was on vacation too.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's take seats.
Right, this better be fast. I got tickets to see Cats tonight. I must be the only person in the whole world who hasn't seen it yet. Anyways, start the show.
How about sitting down now? Gentlemen, Linda? How about sitting down now?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's tough to figure, isn't it? The kid kills his father. Bing! Just like that! Well, it's the element. They let the kids run wild. Maybe it serves them right.
There are better proofs that some emotion may have. Perhaps a dislike for a group. We all agree that it's hot.
And that our tempers are neutral.
That's if we disagree, but this is open and shut. Let's get it done with.
All right, now you ladies and gentlemen can handle this any way you want to. I mean, I'm not going to make any rules. If we want to discuss it first and then vote, that's one way. Or we can vote right now and see how we stand.
Let's vote now.
No, we can vote home.
Yeah, let's see who's where.
Let's vote.
All right, let's go.
All right, anybody doesn't want to vote? Perfect. All those voting guilty, raise your hands. 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, 11 guilty. Not guilty.
Hey, you're in left field.
11 to 1. 11 guilty, 1 not guilty. Now we know where we stand.
Do you really believe the boy's not guilty?
I don't know.
After 6 days, he doesn't know.
In 6 days, I could learn calculus. This is ABC.
I don't believe that this is as simple as ABC.
He was guilty. You could see it.
Where do you look to see if a man is guilty? He's not guilty until we say he's guilty. Are we to vote on his face?
You sat right in court and heard the same things I did. The man's a dangerous killer.
Where do you look to see if a man is guilty?
No,
Tell me. I'd like to know. What are the facial characteristics of a murderer? Maybe you know something that I don't.
Look, what is there about this case that makes you think the boy is innocent?
He's 19 years old.
19. He's old enough. He knifed his own father 4 inches into the chest. An innocent little 19-year-old kid.
I agree with you that the boy is guilty, but I think we should try to avoid emotionally colored arguments.
Okay. They proved it a dozen different ways in court. Do you want me to list them?
No.
Well, do you believe that stupid story he told?
Now.
Do you believe the kid's story?
I don't know whether I believe it or not.
So what
Maybe
are
I
you
don't.
not guilty for?
There were 11 votes for guilty. It's not so easy for me to raise my hand and send the boy off to die without talking about this.
Who says it's easy for me?
For me,
No one.
he's still just as guilty, whether it's an easy vote or a hard one.
Is there something wrong because I voted fast?
Not necessarily.
Look, I think the kid's guilty. You couldn't change my mind if you talked for 100 years.
I don't want to change my mind.
Just what are you thinking of?
I want to talk for a while. Look, this boy's been kicked around all his life. Living in a slum. His mother dead since he was 9. That's not a very good head start. He's a tough, angry kid. You know why some kids get that way? Because we knock them over the head once a day, every day. We owe them a few words. That's all.
All right, sure, it's hard. It was hard for me. Everything I've got, I fought for. I worked my way through college, and that was a long time ago, and perhaps you forget. I fought, yes, but I never killed.
I know what it's like. I never killed nobody.
I've been kicked around too. Just wait until you work in an ad and you see in the big televised advertising. We all know.
In my country, in Europe, they kill to science. But I think let's try to find something better than that.
Look, mister. Let me tell you something. We don't owe the kid a thing. He got a fair trial, didn't he? You know what that trial cost? Quite frankly, he's lucky he got that. Look, we're all grown-ups here. You're not going to come in and tell us that we should believe him knowing what he is. I lived among them all of my life. You can't believe a word they say. You know that.
I don't know that. What a terrible thing for a man to believe. Since when is dishonesty a group characteristic? You have no monopoly on the truth.
All right. It's not Sunday. You don't need a sermon.
What this man says is very dangerous.
I don't see any need for arguing like this. I think we ought to be able to behave like ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
Well, right, if you insist.
Thank you.
Sure.
Now, if we're going to discuss this case, why, let's discuss the facts.
I think that's a good point. We have a job to do, so let's do it.
I'm sorry. If the gentleman took mine, I would like to close them. It was blown on the neck.
If you don't mind, I'd like to have it open.
It was blown on me.
Don't you want a little air? It's summertime. It's hot.
I feel very uncomfortable.
There are 12 of us in this room. It is the only working window, if you don't mind.
I have some rights too.
So do the rest of us.
Couldn't you trade chairs with somebody on the other end of the table?
Fine, I'll open it if someone will trade with me.
Take my chair.
Thank you.
Shall we get back to the case?
Let's.
I may have an idea here. I'm just thinking out loud now, but it seems to me that it's up to us to convince this gentleman that we're right and he's wrong. Maybe if we each talk for a minute or two and try to emphasize.
That sounds fair.
Very fair.
Supposing we go once around the table.
Right, let's do it.
All right, we'll start with you.
Well, I just think he's guilty. I thought it was obvious.
In what way was it obvious?
I mean, nobody proved otherwise.
Nobody has proved otherwise. Innocent until proven guilty. The burden of proof rests on the prosecution. The defendant doesn't even have to open his mouth. That's in the Constitution. The defendant heard it.
Everyone has.
Well, yeah, I've heard of it. I mean, I don't know. I just think he's guilty.
No reasons, just guilty. A man's life is at stake.
Okay, let's get to the facts. Number one, let's talk about the old man who lived in the apartment underneath where the killing took place. He said at, 10 minutes after midnight, he heard what sounded like a fight. Then he heard the boy scream, "I'm gonna kill you." Then he heard the body fall. He went to the front door, and 15 seconds after that, he saw the kid beat it down the stairs and out of the apartment. He went inside, called the cops, and they found the father with a knife in his chest.
And the coroner fixed the time of death at around midnight.
Right, now what else do you want?
It doesn't seem to fit.
The boy's entire story is flimsy. He claims he was at the movies. That's a little ridiculous, isn't it? He couldn't even remember what picture he saw.
You're right, you're absolutely right.
He didn't have any tickets though. Who keeps a ticket stub from the movies?
That's true enough.
I suppose, but the cashier didn't remember it.
And the ticket taker didn't either. Hey, what about the woman across the street? If her testimony does not prove it, then nothing does.
That's right, she saw the killing.
Let's go in order.
Hey, wait a minute, this is important. So, here's a woman who can't sleep. It's hot, you know? Anyway, she wakes up, she looks across the street, and right in the apartment next to her, she sees the kid stick the knife into his father.
How can you really be sure it was the kid?
She's known about his life. Her house right opposite is, across the L tracks, and she swore she saw him do it.
I heard her swear to it.
Okay, and they proved in court that you can look through the window of a passing elevated train at night and see what's happening on the other side. They proved it.
Weren't you just telling us a minute or two ago that you can't trust them, that you can't believe them?
So,
Well, let me ask you something. How come you believe her? She's one of them too, isn't
you're a pretty smart fellow now, aren't you?
Now take it easy.
Calm down. What are you letting him get you all riled up for? Sit down.
Ladies and gentlemen, they did take us to the woman's room, and we were able to look through the window of the moving elevated train, weren't we?
you? Yes.
And weren't you able to see what happened on the other side?
Well, I didn't see as well as they said I would see, but I did see what happened on the other side.
You see? Do you see?
Let's calm down now. It's your turn.
I'll pass it.
That's your privilege. What about you?
I don't know. I started to be convinced, That's funny, the people across the hall. Didn't they say something like fight between Todd and the boy at around 7 o'clock that night? I mean, I may be wrong.
I think it was 8 o'clock, not 7.
That's right. They have fun.
They heard the father hit, well, they heard the boy, the father, hit the boy twice, and then saw the kid walk angrily out of the house.
Right.
What does that prove?
Doesn't have to prove anything. I didn't say it has to prove anything. It's just part of the picture.
Anything else?
I don't know. Most of it's been said already. Look, we can talk about this thing all night, but I think we're just wasting our time.
I don't.
Neither do I. Go on.
Look, the kid's right. He stole a car. He was arrested for mugging. I think somebody said he stabbed someone in the arm.
They did.
He was picked up for knife fighting. At 15, he was in reform school.
And I think they sent him to reform school for stabbing someone.
This is a very fine boy.
Ever since he was 5 years old, his father beat him up regularly. He uses this.
So would I, on a kid like that.
You're right, it's the kids. Yeah, the way they are, you know. I had a kid once, when he was 8. He ran away from a fight. I saw him and I was so ashamed. I told him right out, I'm going to make a man out of you or I'm going to bust you into little pieces trying. When he was 15, he hit me in the face. He's big, you know. I haven't seen him in, 3 years? Right, kids, I hate tough kids. You work your heart out. All right, let's get on with it.
We're missing a point here. Let's say this boy is a product of a filthy neighborhood and a broken home. We can't help that. We're not here to go into the reasons why slums are breeding grounds for criminals. They just are. I know it, and so do you. Children who come out of slum backgrounds are potential menaces to society.
You said it right there. I don't want any part of them. Believe me.
I've lived in a slum all my life.
Hey, now wait a second.
I used to play in a backyard that was filled with garbage. Maybe it still smells on me.
Now take it easy. There's nothing personal here.
There is something personal.
Calm down, feller. He didn't mean you. Let's not be so sensitive.
I can't understand this sensitivity.
Let's stop the bickering. We're wasting time. It's your turn.
Alright. Ever since this trial began, I had a peculiar feeling. I felt that the defense never conducted a thorough cross-examination. Too many questions were left unasked.
Although it doesn't change my opinion on the guilt of the boy, I agree with you that the defense counsel was bad.
So,
This is a point.
what about the facts?
Too many questions were left unanswered.
What about the questions that were answered? For instance, let's talk about that cute little switch knife that fine, upright kid admitted to buying.
Alright, let's talk about it. In fact, I'd like to see it again. This woman can move through that.
I don't see why we have to look at it again. We all know what it looks like.
This man has the right to see exhibits and evidence.
Fine by me.
This knife is a pretty important piece of evidence, would you say?
I would.
So why don't we get those series of events as they relate to the knife?
The boy admits going out of his house at 8 o'clock after being slapped by his father.
Or punched.
Or punched. The boy then went to the neighborhood store and bought a switch knife. The storekeeper was arrested the following day after he admitted selling it to the boy.
It's a pretty unusual knife. Pretty hard to forget something like that.
The storekeeper identified it as the only switch knife of its kind that he had in stock. Now, why did the boy get it?
As a present for a friend of his, he says.
Am I right so far?
Yes, you're right.
You're right. Do you hear her? Do you hear her?
Next, the boy claims that on his way home, that the knife must have slipped out of the hole in his coat pocket and that he never saw it again. Now that there is the story. Ladies and gentlemen, we know what actually happened. He took the knife home, and a few hours later stabbed his father with it, and even remembered to wipe off the fingerprints. Everyone connected with the case identifies this knife. Now, are you trying to tell me that somebody picked the knife up off the street, went to the boy's house, and stabbed the father with it just to be amusing?
No, I'm saying it's possible. It's possible that the boy lost his knife and someone killed his father with a similar knife. It's possible.
Take a look at that knife. It's a very strange knife. I've never seen one like it before in my life. Neither had the storekeeper that sold it to him. Aren't you trying to make us accept a pretty incredible coincidence?
I'm not trying to make you accept anything. I'm just saying it's possible.
And I'm saying it's not possible. Just what are you trying to do?
Yeah, what's this? Who do you think you are?
Oh, look at it. It's the same knife.
Quiet. Let's be quiet.
Now listen to me.
I'm listening.
Where did you get it?
I got it in a little junk shop around from the boy's house. It cost $2.
Would you listen to me?
I'm listening.
You pulled a real smart trick here, but you proved absolutely zero. So what? Maybe there are 10 knives like that.
Maybe there are.
The boy lied and you know it.
Maybe he lied, and maybe he didn't. Maybe he did go to the movie theater, and he snuck it, and that's why the cashier didn't see him. He was ashamed to say so. How many of you didn't sneak into the movie theater once or twice when you were kids?
I did.
Not even once?
The boy may have lied, and maybe he didn't. Do you think he lied?
Well, that's a stupid question. You bet he lied.
Do you think he lied?
You don't have to ask me. You know my answer. He lied.
I don't know.
Now wait a second. What are you, the kid's lawyer? Look, there are still 11 of us who think he's guilty. You're alone. What are you trying to accomplish here? You can be stubborn all you want, and we can hang this jury, and he'll be tried again and found guilty as sure as he's born.
You're probably right.
So what are you getting at here? We can be here all night.
It's only one night. We only walk.
Oh, now come on.
Well, yes, that's true.
I think we ought to get on with it now.
How do you like this guy?
Well, what do you got to say? You're the one holding up the show.
Obviously, you don't think the boy is guilty,
I have a doubt.
but you haven't really presented us with anything to understand your doubt. I mean, there was the old man downstairs. He heard it. He heard the kid shriek it out.
And the woman across the L tracks, she saw it.
Earlier that night, Rick and his father did have a fight.
And he's been a violent kid all the way, and while that doesn't prove anything,
Still, you know.
Look, I've got a proposition. I want you 11 men and women to vote by secret ballots. I'll abstain. If there are still 11 votes for guilty, I won't stand in your way. We'll take it into the judge right now. However, if one of you votes not guilty, we stay and we talk.
Alright, let's do it.
That sounds fair. Everyone agree? Guilty. 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 Guilty.
That's 6.
Please. 6 guilty. 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 Not guilty. Guilty.
How do you like that?
Who was it? We have a right to know.
Alright, who did it? What idiot changed their vote?
Now, is that the way to talk about a man's blood?
Whose life are we talking about? The life of a dead man or the life of a murderer?
I want to know. Who?
So do I.
Excuse me? I think we should know that that was a secret ballot.
Nobody looked while we did it, but now I want to know.
A secret ballot. We agree on that point. If this person wants it to remain a secret,
I know who did it. You come in here and you vote guilty, and then this slick preacher starts to tear your heart out about a poor little slum kid who gives this help of becoming a murderer. Now, if that isn't the most sickening thing
Now hold it!
I agree with you that the boy is guilty, but let's be fair.
Hold it, be fair. That's just what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to put a guilty man into the chair where he belongs. And all of a sudden, we're paying attention to fairy tales.
no, just a minute.
Let's try to keep this organized, ladies and gentlemen.
It isn't organized, but let's try and keep it civilized.
Please, I would like to say something here. I have always thought that a man was entitled to have unpopular opinions in this country. This is the reason I came here. I wanted to have the right to disagree.
Do you disagree with us?
Usually I would. In this one case, I agree with you. But the point I wish to make is that in my own country, I'm ashamed to say.
Well, now what? What do we gotta do? Listen to all history of your country.
It's always wise to bear in mind what has happened in other countries. People aren't allowed to disagree. But we are, so let's stick to the subject.
I agree. Let's stick to the subject. What made you change your vote?
Well, why do you think I did change my vote?
Because I do. Now get on with it.
There's nothing for him to tell me. You can't vote either.
I was going to tell you, you're so sure of yourself.
Sorry, okay. Now,
Maybe you'd like to know why.
let me tell you why
The
that
lady wants to talk.
Here. This gentleman chose not to stand alone against us. That's his right. It takes a great deal of courage to stand alone, even if you believe in something very strongly. He left the verdict to us. He gave for support, and I gave it to him. I want to hear more. The vote is 10-2.
All right, the speech is over. Let's move on.
If there was anything in the boy's favor, I vote not guilty.
I don't see what it is.
Neither do I. I'm clutching at straws.
As guilty as they get, that's the kid, I suppose.
It's that one juror that's holding out. But he'll come around. He's got to. Fundamentally, he's a very reasonable man.
I guess so.
They haven't really presented us with one real fact to support a not guilty verdict.
It's hard to know.
Yes, it is. And what does guilty beyond a reasonable doubt really mean?
What is a reasonable doubt?
Exactly. When a life is at stake, what is a reasonable doubt? You've got to have law and order. You've got to draw the line somewhere. If you didn't, you would just start knifing each other.
Not much doubt here.
Too many TV shows. I really wonder why.
You know, you hear stories about innocent men who have gone to jail or death, and sometimes years later, things turn up.
And then on the other hand, some killer gets turned loose and they go and kill again. They slip out on some technicality.
Okay, now that we've kind of cooled off, I wanted to apologize about earlier. I didn't mean to get so nasty.
Okay.
Look, supposing you answer me this. If the kid didn't kill him, who did?
As far as I know, we're here to decide whether or not the go on trial is guilty. We're not concerned with anybody else's motives.
I suppose, but who else had a motive?
His father was along in years, maybe an old grudge.
Remember, it is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
Oh, everybody's a lawyer. Maybe you explain to us what your reasonable doubts are.
This isn't easy. So far, it's only a feeling I have. A feeling perhaps you don't understand.
No, I
think-
don't.
A feeling? What are we gonna do? Spend the night talking about our feelings? What about the facts?
Boy, you said a mouthful.
Didn't the old man who heard the kid yell, "I'm going to kill you"?
That's right, he did. And the phrase was, "I'm going to kill you," and he screamed it out at the top of his lungs. Don't tell me somebody said something like that the way he said it, that they don't mean it.
A second later, he heard the father's body falling. Where's the reasonable doubt in that?
That's right. Let's not forget about the woman across the street. She looked out into the window and saw the boy stab his father. She saw it.
If that's not enough for you.
I have to think about it.
How do you like him? It's like talking into a dead phone.
The woman saw the killing through the windows of a moving elevated train. The train had 5 cars, and she saw it through the last 2 windows. She remembers the most insignificant details.
What do you have to say about that?
I don't know. Well, supposing you think about it. Lend me your pencil. We'll play some tic-tac-toe to pass the time.
Tic-tac-toe. This isn't a game.
Now, wait a minute.
This is a man's life.
Did you see him? The nerve, the absolute nerve.
All right, forget it. It don't mean anything.
I've got one good mind to walk around this
Now,
city.
please, I don't want any fights in here.
Weren't we talking about elevated trains?
Yes, you were.
So,
All right. I want to ask you something. How long would it take an elevator train going at top speed to pass a given point?
what has that got to do with anything?
How long would it take? Yes.
I wouldn't have the slightest idea.
Neither would I.
I don't think very much.
What do you think?
So, 10, 12 seconds, maybe.
I'd say that's a fair guess. Anyone else?
Perhaps 10 seconds.
All right, we're agreed. 10 seconds. Now what are you getting at?
Yes. An elevator train takes 10 seconds to pass a given point. That given point is the window of the room in which the killing took place. You can almost reach out of the window and touch the elevator, right?
That's right, I tried it.
So?
So, well, let me ask you this. Did any of you ever live next to the L tracks?
I've looked up.
They make a lot of noise, don't they? I live by the L tracks. When your window is open and the train goes by, the noise is almost unbearable. You can hardly hear yourself then.
Okay, you can't hear yourself think. Get to the point.
The old man downstairs heard the voice
He
say,
didn't say it. He screamed it.
the old man downstairs heard the voice scream, I'm going to kill you. And 1 second later, the body fell. 1 second. That's the testimony, right?
Right.
The woman across the street saw the murder happen through the last two cars of the L train, and she saw the body fall. The last two cars.
What are you giving us here?
Now, an L train takes 10 seconds to pass a given point, or 2 seconds per car. That means that the old man, that means that the body fell. That means that the L train had been going by the old man's window for at least 6 seconds, and maybe more, before the body fell, according to the woman. Now, the front of the L must have been roaring past the old man's window while he supposedly heard, I'm going to kill you. It's not possible that he could have heard the boy shout that out.
Sure, he could have heard it.
With the L train going by,
He said the boy screamed it.
an L train makes a lot of noise.
It's enough for me.
It's enough for me too.
I don't think he could have heard it. Maybe the old man didn't hear it. I mean, the other one.
What do you guys say? The old man's a liar?
Well, it simply doesn't fit. Well, it stands to reason.
I mean, what's he got to gain about lying about a thing like that? You keep coming up with these bright sayings. Why don't you send it in the newspaper? They pay $2.
What does that have to do with man's life? Why might the old man lie? You're right, Peter.
Well, it's just that I looked at him for a very long time. It seemed like his jacket was split under his arm. Did you notice that? He was a very old man with a torn jacket, and he carried 2 canes. I think I know him better than anyone here. He's a quiet, private, insignificant man who has been nothing all his life. Never had any recognition, his name in newspapers. Nobody knows him after 75 years. This is a very sad thing. A man like this needs to be questioned and recognized and listened to and quoted just once. This is very important.
And you're trying to tell us that he lied about a thing like this just so he could be important?
Well, he wouldn't really lie, but perhaps he'd make himself believe that he heard those words when he saw the boy's face.
Well, if that isn't the most fantastic story I've ever heard.
I'm not making it up.
You've got to be making it up. How would you know about a thing like that?
I speak from experience.
What?
I am the same person.
I think we all understand now. Thank you.
If you want to admit you're a liar, it's fine by me.
Now that is too much.
She just said she's a liar, didn't she?
She did not say that she was lying. She was explaining.
Didn't you just say that you were a liar?
Please. She was explaining the circumstances under which the old man may have lied. There is an obvious difference.
A liar's a liar. That's all there is to it.
Please, have some compassion.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, we have our job and our duty here.
I think they covered it.
I hope we have.
All right. Is there anything else?
Cough drop?
No, thank you.
Does anybody want a cough drop?
I'll take it.
Shall we go back to it?
Now, I think that we've proven the old man couldn't have heard the voice say, I'm going to kill you.
I disagree.
But supposing the old man really did hear the voice say, I'm going to kill you. This phrase, how often have all of us used it? Probably hundreds. If you do that once more, Junior, I'm going to murder you. Or, come on, Rocky, kill him. We say it every day. It doesn't mean we're actually going to murder someone.
But don't the circumstances alter that somewhat?
The old man was murdered.
And like I said before, the phrase was, I'm going to kill you.
That's the way I understand it.
And he screamed it out of the top of his lungs. Don't tell me somebody says something like that the way he said it, that they don't mean it.
And how they mean it.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you really think the boy would shout out a thing like that so the whole neighborhood could hear? I don't think so. He's much too recognized.
Right? Oh, come on. He's a Conan or a Slav. He don't even speak good English.
Doesn't
The boy is clever enough.
I would like to change my vote to not guilty. Yes, I'm sure.
Vote is 9-3 in favor of guilty.
Why did you change your vote?
I believe there's a doubt.
Where? Where is the doubt?
There's the knife.
Oh, fine.
He talked you into believing a fairy tale.
Go on, give us the reasons.
Well, the old man too. Maybe he didn't like it, and just maybe he did. Maybe the old man doesn't like the kid.
Well, if that isn't the end,
I believe there's a reasonable doubt.
what are you basing it on? Stories that this guy made up? He should write for Amazing Detective Monthly. He'd make a fortune. Look, the kid had a lawyer, didn't he? Why didn't his lawyer bring up all these points?
Well, lawyers can't think of everything.
Oh, brother. You sit here and you pull stories out of thin air. Now we're supposed to believe that the old man didn't get out of bed, run to the door, and see the kid beat it downstairs 15 seconds after the killing?
The old man said he ran to the door.
Ran and walked. What's the difference? He got there.
I don't remember what he said, but I don't see how he could run.
He went, I remember it. He went from his bedroom to the front door. Isn't that enough?
Where was his bedroom again?
Down the hall somewhere.
Down the hall somewhere. Are we to send him in off tonight because it's down the hall somewhere?
I thought you remembered everything. Don't you remember that?
No, I don't.
I don't remember it either.
Miss Foreman, I'd like to take a look at the diagram of the car.
Why don't we just have them run the whole trial over again, just so you can get everything right?
The bedroom is down the hall somewhere. Do you know? Do you know exactly where it is? Please. A man's life is at stake.
Well,
Do
you
you
know.
Miss Foreman?
All
I
right,
heard you.
all right. What's this one for? How come you're the only one who wants to see exhibits and evidence all the time?
I want to see this one too.
So do I.
And I want to stop wasting time.
Is this what you wanted?
Yes, thank you.
Sure. That's my note.
You want this?
Yes, you.
Do me a favor. Wake me up when this whole thing is over.
I looked at that diagram for 2 hours. Nothing's enough.
We're not going to start waiting through all that nonsense about where the body was found.
No, we're not. We're going to see how an old man who had 2 strokes in the past 3 years and who walks with a set of canes was able to get from his bedroom to the front door of the apartment in 15 seconds.
He said 20.
He said 15.
How does he know how long 15 seconds is? You can't judge that sort of a thing.
He said 15. He was very positive about it.
How could he be positive about anything? You saw him. He was an old man. Well, you know.
No, I don't know. Maybe you know. Alright. This is the old man's apartment. Above it, and exactly the same, is the apartment in which the killing took place. Now, here's the bedroom, and the living room, and the kitchen, and here's the bathroom. Here are the L tracks and the hallway to the front door of the apartment and the steps. Now, the old man had to get up out of bed, get his canes, walk to the bedroom door, open the door, and then walk down the hallway to the front of the apartment, open that door to see the boy racing down the stairs, all in 15 seconds. Do you think it's possible?
You bet it's possible.
Now, the distance from the bed to the bedroom door is 12 feet, and the distance to the hallway is 43 feet.
Just what are you trying to do?
I want to try this thing. I want to see how the old man was able to get there in time to see the boy racing down the stairs.
You're crazy. You can't recreate a thing like that.
Alright, this is the bedroom door. How far would you say it is from here to the door of this room?
I'd say it was
Just about.
All right, 20 feet is close enough. So let's say from here to the door and back again is 40 feet. That's less than the distance of the hallway. Are we agreed on that? All right. Do any of you have a watch with a second hand?
I have.
All right. I want you to stop your foot whenever you want me to start. That will be by call. Keep on.
I'm waiting for the second hand to get to 60.
Speed it up. You walk twice as fast as that.
This is, I think, even quickly than the ultimate walk.
No, it isn't.
If you want me to go faster, I'll go faster.
Speed up a little bit.
Come on.
You're good enough.
Stop.
25. About 39 seconds.
That can't be.
39 seconds.
Now that's interesting.
Hey, what do you think of that?
And the old cripple swore on his oath that it was 15.
He may have been a little bit off on the speed the ultimate walked at, but 24 seconds off, you know.
Far be it from me from calling anyone a liar, and even on the required difference in the speed between you and the old man, why still there's quite
Quite a discrepancy.
It's my guess that the old man is trying to get to the front door, and he heard someone running down the stairs, and he assumed that it was the boy.
I think it's possible.
Assumed possible. Now listen to me, folks. I've seen all kinds of dishonesty in my day, but this little display takes the cake.
What dishonesty?
You tell them. You come in here with your heart bleeding out all over the floor about slum kids and injustice, and you've got some soft-hearted old ladies looking at you. Well, I'm not. This kid's guilty. He's got to burn. We're letting him slip through our fingers.
Slip through our fingers. Are you his executioner?
I'm one of them.
Perhaps you'd like to pull the switch.
For this kid, you bet I'd like to pull the switch.
Oh, I'm sorry for you.
Don't start with me.
What it must feel like to want to pull the switch.
Shut up.
You're a sadist.
Shut up.
You want this boy to die because you personally want it, not because of the facts.
Shut up.
You are a beast. You disgust me.
Shut up. Let me go. I'll kill him. I'll kill him.
You don't really need to kill him, do you?
Is there anything wrong, ladies and gentlemen? I heard some noise.
Nothing's wrong. I'm taking this back now, though. We're gonna have to do it.
Well, what are you looking at?
I don't see why we have to behave like children here.
Nor do I. We have the responsibility. This is a remarkable thing about democracy, that we come into this place and decide on guilt or innocence of a man. For them not known before. We have nothing to gain or lose by our voting. This is the reason we are strong. We should not make it a personal
Thank you. We're good.
right.
Yes, we're good. It's good to be around.
I'm glad we're going to be civilized about this.
Well, we're still not winning.
We're somewhere, or getting there.
Maybe.
Who's got an idea? I think maybe we should try another vote. It's all right with me. Anybody doesn't want to vote?
I want an open ballot. Let's call out our votes. I want to know who stands where.
That sounds fair. Anyone object? All right, I'll call for jury numbers. I vote guilty. Jury number 2? Not guilty. 3?
Guilty.
4? Guilty. 5?
Not guilty.
Jury number 6?
Not
7? Guilty. 8?
Not guilty.
9?
We're not guilty.
Jury number 10?
Guilty.
11,
Not guilty.
and 12.
That's 6 to 6.
I'm ready to walk into court right now and declare a hung jury. There's no use going on anymore.
I'll tell you, the real crime is being committed right here in this room.
The vote is 6 to 6.
It's got to be unanimous, and we're never convincing him.
At first, I was alone. Now 5 others agree. There is a doubt.
You can't convince me there's a doubt because there isn't a doubt.
Tell you what, maybe we're a hung jury. It happens sometimes.
No, we are not going to be a hung jury.
Maybe we should vote. What do you mean, vote?
And
I still want to know. Vote on what?
Are we or aren't we a hung jury?
You mean that if we vote yes, then we are a hung jury, or if we vote no, we're not?
That's just what I was thinking of.
If 7 or more of us vote yes that we are a hung jury, then we will take it to the judge and tell him we are a hung jury.
Right. And if 7 or more of us vote no, then we aren't a hung jury, and we go on discussing it.
It doesn't seem quite right to me.
It's the only solution.
I agree. It's the only way.
Anything we can use. Are we agreed then? 7 or more vote yes, and we take it into the judge. All right. I vote yes. We're a hung jury. Number 2?
No.
Juror number 3.
Yes.
4.
Yes.
5.
No.
Juror number 6. No. 7. Yes. 8.
No.
Juror number 9. No. 10.
Yes.
11. And 12. Yes. The vote is 6 to 6.
We can't even get a jury to decide we're a hung jury.
I went along with the majority vote on this question, and I didn't agree with voting that way. Not really, and I still don't. So I'm changing my vote. I say no, we are not a hung jury. There are still some things I would like to find out from the other jurors that changes your mind.
Then we aren't a hung jury, and we go on discussing it.
Good. We go on.
Why did you change your mind?
Juror number 2. Why did you change your mind?
Well, you see, he has made a number of good points, while he just gets mad and insults everybody.
Does the anger and the insult change the guilt of the boy? He did do it. Are you going to turn a murderer loose in the street because one juror gets angry when he thinks a murderer is being turned loose?
That's true.
There is a doubt.
I don't think so. The trap was straight in front of the track. Let's make that point. So it would have made a low rumbling noise. L trains screech when they go around curves. So the old man may have been able to hear a scream, which is high pitched, and it is a tenement, and they have spin walls.
Good. That's it. That's it.
And what if the old man was wrong about the amount of time that took him to get to the front door, but right about what we saw? Please remember, there weren't any fingerprints on the knife, and it is summer, so gloves seem unlikely. And it may have taken the murderer a few seconds to get out a handkerchief and wipe the fingerprints away.
This is a point.
Why don't we time this one?
What? I'll be timing.
Yes, let's be exact, please.
I'm saying that the old man downstairs might have been wrong about the amount of time that it took him to get from his bedroom to the front door, but that he was right about what he saw. So it may have taken the murderer about 39 seconds to get to the place where the old man saw the boy, that is.
We reconstructed the old man getting out of bed and going to the door, and we timed that. So let's reconstruct the actual crime.
As well as we can never reconstruct.
I think the murderer could use up about 30 to 40 seconds, Mr. Kelly.
Well, why don't you do the stabbing?
No, I'll do it.
Well, 7, why don't you be the one that gets stabbed? You're younger than I am, and don't forget, it takes 1 second to fall.
And the body was found on his side, his right side. So fall and roll onto your right side. If another person hated another, if a man hated another person enough to kill someone, don't you think it's reasonable to suppose that the murderer would look at his victim for a second or two?
Divorce yourself from this particular case. It's just human nature.
Yes, it seems reasonable.
Well, hey, now, wait a minute. Shooting somebody isn't like stabbing them, even if it's right in the heart. The father still would have had enough gumption to ride around on the board, maybe.
That's possible. There probably would have been enough oxygen in the system to keep him alive for 2 or 3 seconds, I should think.
right out.
Maybe the kid held his mouth.
That also seems possible.
And there's also another point we might take a look at. If the boy was clear enough mentally to wipe off the fingerprints off the knife, don't you suppose he was clear enough mentally to look around the apartment or the room in this case to make sure there were no other clues? I mean, it would just be for a second or two, but I think you could do it.
About this on the fingerprints. The kid wiped the fingerprints off the knife, but what about the doorknobs? If I saw a man coming into my home, a man that hated me, if he was coming in and wiping the doorknobs with a handkerchief as he came in, it would give me an uneasy feeling. So the doorknobs must have been wiped too, and this too would have taken some time.
Why don't you time it? You timed the last one.
Alright.
You can stomp your book when you'd like me to start.
Waiting for the thing to get to 6.
I'm going to kill you! Ah! Oh no! I've been stabbed! Ah! You would have wiped both knobs. Stop.
About 29 and a half seconds.
And the murderer, whoever did murder the old man, and I think it was the boy, still had to run down a full flight of stairs.
You see, do you see?
So the old man might have been wrong about the time, but I think in view of this, it's quite possible to assume that he did see the boy.
So now both time sequences check. The one you did and the one we did with the running down the stairs and everything. It does pretty much check out at times.
So the story of the old man may well be true.
Except for the fact that he swore, he absolutely swore under oath that it was only 15 seconds.
And we seem to all agree that it was at least 25 to 40 seconds.
Now, I do agree that this does tend to confirm the story of the old man, but he is now a proven liar by your own admission.
That may be true that the man lies in part, but I would still like to change my vote. I think he's guilty.
And 6, I want to know what you think.
I'm not quite sure what I think. I wanted to talk some more. At first I thought guilty, and then I changed my vote to not guilty. Now I'm sort of feeling not guilty.
And what about you? What do you think?
I'm now in the real I said guilty. I was right the first time.
Now we're beginning to make sense in here.
It seems to be about 9 guilty to 3 not guilty.
Alright, one more question about the old man downstairs. How many of you live in apartment buildings?
I don't know what you, but I know what I am.
What's that?
I do not live in a town, but it's close. And there was just enough lights so you could see the steps. No, the light bulb is so small. And this murder took place in a tent. Do you remember how we stumbled on the steps?
The police officers were using big bulbs and one even had flashlights, remember?
The old man was just the time by 20 seconds. And this we all agree. So, do you think that the old man walked down the dark hallway and recognized a red finger?
He was 100% wrong about the amount of time it took. It was twice as long.
Then couldn't he be 100% wrong about who he saw?
Now, if that isn't the most idiotic thing I've ever heard of, you've got to be making that up out of thin air.
We're a hung jury, let's be honest about it.
And do you truly feel that there's no room for a reasonable doubt?
Yes, I do.
I beg your pardon, but maybe you don't understand the term reasonable doubt.
What do you mean? I don't understand. Who do you think you are to talk to me like that? How do you like this guy? He comes over here running from his country, and before he can even catch a big breath, he's telling us how to run the show. The arrogance of him.
No one asked where you came from,
I was born right here.
or where your father came from.
Maybe it wouldn't hurt us to take a few tips from people who come around here. We're not so perfect. Maybe he knows something that we don't know.
Please, I'm used to this. It's alright.
No, it's not alright.
Okay, I apologize. Is that what you want?
That's what I wanted.
All right, let's stop the arguing. Who's got something constructive to say?
You see, something's been bothering me. The whole business about the stab wound and how it was made out of the downward angle, like, you know?
Don't tell me you're gonna start that. They went over it in court.
I know they did, but is it really? The boy was 5'8" tall, and his father was 6'2" tall. That's a difference of half a foot. It's a really awkward thing to stab at a downward angle into someone who's 6 inches taller.
All right, you're not gonna be satisfied until you see a demonstration. Give me that. Somebody get up. Now, would you pay attention? I don't want to have to do this again. You, he's kind. Now, would you say this is 6 inches?
That's more than 6 inches.
Let it be more. I'm gonna kill you!
Look out! That's not funny.
Who's the matter with you?
All right, nobody's hurt, are they?
Nope, nobody's hurt.
Look at it, down and in. That's how it stabbed Tom man in the chest, and that's how it's done. Take a look at it and tell me I'm wrong.
Down and in. I guess there's no argument.
You ever stabbed him?
Of course not.
Did you?
Let's not be silly.
Did you?
No.
Have you ever seen men stabbed?
No.
Well, then where do you get all your information about how it's done?
I mean, it's just kind of common knowledge.
Doesn't this look like an awkward way to handle that?
I mean, what are you asking me for?
Wait, give me that knife.
Have you ever seen men stabbed?
Yes, I have.
In the movies?
No, in my backyard, on my stoop, in the vacant lot across the street. Too many of them. Switch knives came in the neighborhood where I live. Funny I didn't think of it sooner, as you try to forget those things. But anyone who's ever used a switch knife would never have stabbed downward. You don't handle a switch knife that way. You use it underhanded.
So the boy couldn't have made the kind of wound that killed his father.
I mean, I suppose it's conceivable that the boy could have made the wound, but it's not likely. Not if the boy had any experience with switch knives. And we know the boy had a lot of experience with switch knives.
I don't believe it.
Neither do I. You're giving us a bunch of mumbo jumbo.
What do you think?
Well, I don't know.
What about you?
Listen, I'll tell you all something. I'm a little sick of this whole thing. We're getting nowhere fast. Let's just pack it up and go home.
Well, before we decide anything else, I'd like to try to pull this all together.
Oh, this should be good.
I want you all to look at this logically and consistently.
We have guilty.
I want to know, is the boy smart or is he dumb?
What do you mean?
This is a kid who was sent to reform school for knife fighting. The night of the murder, he bought a knife, a switch knife. It would then take a very stupid boy to go and murder a man, his father, with an item that we would all associate with him.
I quite agree, he's dumb.
However, if he were dumb, then why would he make the kind of wound that an inexperienced knife fighter would?
I'm not sure I understand.
To murder someone must take a great emotion, great hatred, and at that moment he would handle it as best as he could. Now, being a trained knife fighter, he would handle it underhanded. An inexperienced knife fighter would handle it overhanded. But the boy is being very smart. And at that moment, he handles it as an amateur would, because he knows that everyone knows that he is a trained knife fighter. That man is a smart man, smart enough to wipe the fingerprints off the knife, and perhaps even smart enough to wait for an L train to cover the noise.
Hey, now, wait a minute.
Well, the woman across the track saw the murder through the outside windows, so maybe someone on the train saw it too.
A possibility, but nobody did that we know of.
It would take an awfully long man to take that chance when the murder was nearby.
Exactly. A dumb man, a very stupid man, a man swept by emotion. Probably he heard nothing. He probably didn't even hear the train. And the man who did murder the father did it as well as he could.
So,
The boy is dumb enough to do everything to associate himself with a switch knife murder. But then he's smart enough to wipe the fingerprints off, and then he's dumb enough to do it while an L train is passing. And then he becomes stupid once more, so stupid in fact that he does not even think of a good alibi. To say the boy is guilty, you have to say he's dumb from about 8 o'clock to midnight, and then he's smart for a second or two, and then dumb again, and then he becomes smart and then so dumb that, like I said, he does not even think of a good alibi. To say he's guilty, you have to toss his intelligence like a pancake. There is doubt.
I hadn't thought of that.
In the old man downstairs, to say the boy is guilty, you have to say that the old man lied for about half the time and told the truth for the other half of the time. There is a reasonable doubt.
I'm sold on reasonable doubt. I think I'm too.
I wanted more talk, and now I had it.
I want another vote.
Okay, another vote is called for. I guess the quickest way is just to show of hands. Anyone object? All right, so all those voting not guilty, raise your hands. Nine. And you're guilty? The vote is 9-3 in favor of the
I don't understand you people. How can you honestly think that this kid is innocent? You know these people lied. They don't know what the truth is. And let me tell you, they don't need any good reason to kill someone either. Look, they get drunk and bang! Someone's lying dead in the gutter. No one's blaming them. That's just how they are. You know what I mean? But human life doesn't mean as much to them as it does to us. Hey, where are you going? Look, these people are drinking and fighting all the time, and if somebody gets killed, so somebody gets killed. They don't care. Oh, sure, there's some good things about them. I'll be the first to tell you that. I met a couple of them who were pretty decent, but that's the exception. With most of them, it's like they have no feelings. They can do anything. Hey, what are you doing? I'm speaking my piece. Listen to me. They're no good. There's not any one of them who is any good. We better watch out. Take it from me. This kid on trial. We'll tell you all about him. Listen to me. Listen to me. I'm trying to tell you something.
I've had enough. If you open your mouth again, I'm going to split your skull.
I'm only trying to tell you.
All right, sit down, everybody. I still think the boy is guilty of murder, and I'll tell you why. For me, the most damning evidence was the story of that woman gave, who actually claimed she saw the murder committed.
That's right. As far as I'm concerned, that's the entire case.
All right, let's go over her testimony. What exactly did she say?
I believe I can recount it fairly well. So the old woman went to bed at around 11 o'clock. Her bed was right next to the open window, and she could look out her window while lying down and see directly into the window across the street. She tossed and turned for a little over an hour, unable to fall asleep. Finally, at around 12:10, she rolled over and looked out her window just as she saw the boy stab her father. So at this point.
I mean, it's the whole case.
Frankly, in view of this, I don't see how you can vote for acquittal. What do you think?
Well, maybe there's so much evidence to say.
What do you mean, maybe? She's absolutely right.
That was my feeling. I don't doubt the validity of the points that he has made. Shall we say that on one side of the track there's doubt? But what can we say about the story of the woman? She saw it.
What time is it? It's 10 minutes of 6.
You don't suppose they'd let us go home and it's called tomorrow. I should give them home.
Oh, yes. What's the matter? Can't you see the occupied glasses?
Not clearly.
Oh.
Glasses aren't nuisance, aren't they?
Well, what do you all do when you wake up at night and you want to know what time it is?
I put my glasses on and look at the clock.
I lie in bed and wait for my clock to chime. My father gave it to me whenever I was married. My husband and I. It took us almost 10 years to find a place to put it.
Okay, so you don't wear your glasses to bed.
Of course not. Nobody wears their glasses to bed.
What about the woman across the street? She wore glasses.
Did you wear glasses?
Of course, the woman will bifocus. I remember that very clearly. They look quite strong.
That's right, my focus. You're not trying to.
I think it's reasonable to say that the woman would not have worn her glasses to that, and she wouldn't have put them on to casually glance out the window. She said that the murder happened the instant she looked out. Now, she may honestly believe that she saw the boy kill his father. I say she only saw blood.
How do you know what she saw? Maybe she's far-sighted.
Does anybody here still think there's no reason for that?
I will always wonder what there is no reasonable doubt.
I think he's guilty.
Anybody else?
No, I'm convinced there is a reasonable doubt.
You're alone.
11 votes not guilty, 1 guilty.
I don't care whether I'm alone or not. I have a right.
Yes, you have a right.
What do you want?
Your arguments.
I gave you my arguments.
We're not convinced. We want to hear them again. We have time.
Listen, don't leave. You're the lady. You made all of the arguments. You can't go. You're going to be letting a guilty man, a murderer, loose in the streets.
I'm sorry, I'm convinced. I don't normally think I'm wrong, but I guess I was this once. There is a reasonable doubt in my mind.
You're not going to intimidate me. I have a right. It's going to be a hung jury. That's it.
Well, there's nothing we can do but hope that some night, maybe a few months from now, you might just get some sleep. You're all alone.
It takes a great deal of courage to stand alone.
If we are a hung jury, then there will be another trial, and some of us will point out these things to the other lawyers.
All right. All right.
You're waiting.
Not guilty.
I just wanted to give a big thank you to our director, Aubrey, for sticking with us this whole time, dealing with our busy schedules, and just helping us pull this all together, because we would definitely not be anywhere close to this without her. So big thank you to Aubrey.
I would like to say thank you to Miss McCaska and everybody who helped bring in pieces for the set and put them together in a paint. So thank you very much.
Also, a big thank you to the parents and families for dealing with our busy schedules and bringing us food for dress rehearsals. Yeah.
wonderful day and evening you have blessed us with. We thank you for all the blessings you have bestowed on us, including our talents in acting. We thank you that yesterday's performances with Cast 1 and today's performances with Cast 2 went as well as they did. And please help us to drive home safely and go about our lives. Also pray in your name. Amen.